Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Folks. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona and away go for the first time. Nicholas Morcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Up now as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Nice to go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
See just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out and away we go for the very first time here at Oklahoma International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Old Bastards Racing League. I am your host, Gareth McAllister, bringing you the action in 1080p and 60 frames a second, if my good old Aussie internet can allow it. So, first of all, g'day everyone once again, and we're going to bring you all the action from tonight's event here at Darlington. Throwback week as well as Mother's Day weekend. So I hope you have all had a very, very good Mother's Day. And I wish all the mothers out there a very nice day as well. As we're going to get right into the action here, as we currently see Brian Lynch making his way around the track as he is attempting to improve on his current qualifying position of the being in 12th position at the moment. There are quite a number of drivers who've come out here tonight, a few of them deciding to leave qualifying a little bit later on in the day, hoping to get a better time as it runs down end. So we have a lot of throwback paint schemes here tonight, which is absolutely fantastic to see. And we're going to run through all of those as we start the race really in due course here, as we'll run through the drivers that have, I should start that again. We're going to run through the drivers that have throwback paint schemes ready for us while we are making our way through the race. About midpoint in the race, I'll bring that together. But the drivers here tonight trying desperately not to get themselves the old Darlington stripe. This track very much famous both in namesake as well as in just its sheer appearance and historic presence, as it is around about 73 years old at this point. Darlington's still a mainstay for all of these drivers, as well as the drivers in the Cup Series. And I tell you what, also nice little bit of trivia that no one probably really, it doesn't really matter to a whole bunch of people except myself, but this is actually the only NASCAR track that I have ever visited in person. I made the trip up to southern states and made my way down to Darlington purely to see NASCAR, as I was very heavily invested in the Cup Series a couple of years ago. And I made the very expensive trip over there just before COVID struck, and I can tell you it was a fantastic event. Very much enjoyed it. Would love to go again if I can build up a bit more of a financial backing behind me before I can go. But anyway, I will say the only thing that was, well, I don't know if it was going to be bad. It wasn't a bad experience. I didn't have a bad experience. But no, I very much enjoyed it. I've forgotten where I was going with that, but I very much enjoyed the experience, as we are currently switching through a few drivers trying to make their way out on track at the moment. Chris Bates in the number 81 machine has just finished up in the 9th position so far. Going to practice pit entry as well. A lot of these drivers you'll see pull down there as they attempt it, because Darlington, a very, very difficult track. As I said, seeing it in person, really in sim does not do it any kind of justice. This track just all sorts of difficult. 25 degrees of banking in turns 1 and 2, but 23 in 3 and 4, and I tell you, these turns are not exactly in a nice angle as we switch to Tom Ogle just as he's entering the pits and gets a little bit of a lockup there as well. We just missed him make his way into the top position, just edging out MacArthur. Now, another interesting story that will be developing as we watch now Josh Robinson attempting his qualifying run up right next to the wall is going to be Dwayne MacArthur himself. He has an 11 race win streak here at Darlington Raceway. So it's going to be very interesting to see if anyone can knock him off that throne or if he is able to continue with that trend. But for the moment, it looks like Ogle is going to try and give him a run for his money. And we'll see whether he's able to make it into 12 win category or not by the end of this one. Oh, as Josh Robinson gets cut short by the minimalist of margins and not able to unfortunately get that secondary lap involved in his qualifying time. So very unfortunate for him as we get ready to run through the grid here at Darlington Raceway. So starting on pole, we are going to have Tom Ogle once again with a ripper of a qualifying session. He's going to be starting on pole for us tonight. Dwayne MacArthur in the second position, lining up alongside Lloyd Moore in the third position with Courtney Nelson alongside him. Michael Watts and Shane Wiseman in the third row. Greg McDaniel and Josh Robinson in our fourth row. And Bruce Pearson with John Hinchcliffe in our fifth row. Chris Bates and Brian Lindsay rounding it in the sixth row at the moment, as the seventh row consists of Dale Copeland and Brian McRubbin is racing. The 15th spot, Kermit Gentry Jr. alongside Brian Lynch. 15th and 16th positions there. Lee Warsdale with Dustin Martinson alongside in the 9th row. Our 10th row, Brian Glass and Clay Walker, with James Waldo and Greg Hammond sitting in our 11th row. Our 12th row consisting of Wayne Hufford, the number 75, who does have an EOL, end of line penalty and a pass-through green flag, so expect him to drop back a little bit there as we get this one underway. But Cameron Chaussee is going to be lining up alongside him, at least in face value for the moment. Dave Nestor, the 25th machine with Mark Schrader alongside him. Robert Crisco Garisco in the 27th position, with William Martin in the 28th spot. Troy Baker starting the 15th row in the 29th spot, with Daniel Edgren starting in the 30th position, our lone triple numbered driver out there tonight, hoping to make a good show for us today. And Jonathan Green with Mark Fish bringing home the rear of the group in 31st and 32nd, aka our 16th row. A lot of cars making their way out here as per usual for the Old Bastards Racing League Kimball Cup Series. And we are very, very much looking forward to the start as the hard left turn is made by the pace car. And we're getting ready to rock and roll for the green flag. Ogle MacArthur. Here we go. We are underway for the throwback race of the season. 130 laps here in Darlington Raceway. Tom Ogle takes a nice jumping lead. I think MacArthur's let him have it just for the moment as they sort themselves out single file. Not too far behind. Lloyd Moore has made his way up already, so that is great news for him, as Michael Watts also makes his way a little bit more forward as Courtney Nelson drops back that one spot. This is a track very, very difficult to go double wide As we look at this right now, McRubbin was trying to go too wide there with Kermit Gentry. I believe Gentry actually took that 14th place position from McRubbin there with a little bit of a move, so that is great to see. As everyone's sorting themselves out single file for the moment and trying not to get too crazy too early on. Darlington stripe definitely going to play a huge factor in how this one ends up going around. At the moment, we have a very close battle actually in the back of the pack. Mark Fish following behind Mark Schrader, and James Waldo just behind the two of those cars. Battling for the 28th position, Mark Schrader getting a little bit of a gap ahead there. Greg Hammond and Cameron Chaussee just going side by side as Hammond takes... Ooh. So Chaussee actually getting a very early Darlington stripe on our third lap here as we transition over to the fourth one, going past the start-finish straight. But Chaussee, even with that stripe being... well, showing up on his car very early on, able to make that pass. So he is going to be very happy with that one, as we just had a little bit of a battle going up here as well in the 12th position. Chris Bates, that is, just lost a spot to Dale Copeland. And just behind them, Brian Lindsay with a little bit of a bobble in the 24 machine. I'm sure you can see as well, plenty of throwback paints out there tonight. Only cars not showing. There's only about 9 cars on track of the 32 that don't have a throwback paint scheme at the moment. So just goes to show how much respect is paid from this league to the past, as McRubbin is making a move on Kermit Gentry Jr. right now. These two guys sporting their usual liveries. Brian Lynch told us specifically that number 9 machine currently sitting in the 16th position, letting us know that he is paying tribute to Carl Yarborough's Hardy's scheme from the 1980s. Thanks to him for letting us know that one is Brian Lynch. Obviously paying a bit of tribute with keeping his own sponsors, keeping Hooters on the car. And as he rightfully pointed out before the show, which I did actually get a chance to look at in practice, with a themed girl as well from the 80s. As you can see, the classic style of not only outfit, but also hairdo and all the rest of it. This is when I start becoming a fashion guru. As it looks like we had a battle between Dale Copeland taking another spot away, moving himself back up through the field, as he did drop early on, being in that high side line, I believe. So he's up into 9th place right now, just made the move on John Hinchcliffe to make that pass. And everyone's still sort of sorting themselves out. Hinchcliffe making a move on Wiseman. They get very, very close together, almost touch. Thankfully avoid each other though, as Wiseman is going to lose that spot to Hinchcliffe. But maybe take it back on the inside, as Pearson was looking for a brief moment there as well. Decided against it, as McRubbin has a little bit of a blink. This pack being formed all of a sudden out of nowhere. From Shane in the 69 machine in that 10th position. All the way back, Cameron Chaussee in 22nd, I'd say they're within half a second of the car in front of each other. So looking very dicey a little bit further back in this pack. Kermit Gentry with Lee Warsdell right behind 99 machine as well. Gentry with a little bit higher line, gonna get the run off on Brian Lynch, see if he can make that pass, but not quite able to get the run he was hoping for. Let's not forget that this track is a 1.36 mile oval, so not a huge track at all. As you can see there, Dustin Martinson Getting passed by Brian Glass now. That number 19 machine up on the high side. Really with a beautiful looking throwback paint scheme. As you can see, Clay Walker is on the tail end right now. Come to our 13th lap, I believe, in short order. It looks like Walker is going to make that pass, and what a run he has. He's going to make the position on Dustin Munson. Munson's still up high. Garisco is going to try and take that away as well. Getting a Darlington stripe. There's chalked out another one off the board for the 19 machine. As Garisco has taken that spot away. A little bit further up front in the 11th position, Shane Wiseman has company right behind of Chris Bates and Brian McRubbin. They are right on the back bumper of that machine as Bates looked to the inside very early on. Almost looks like some of these drivers taking it a little bit easier than necessary just to get a feel for just how Darlington will react to their vehicles. Daniel Hill coming in the chat saying, go get him, Hinchcliffe. We have a John Hinchcliffe supporter out in the spectator area. Once again, well, not once again because I haven't said it yet, but if you would like to point out anyone in the spectator area as I try and figure out the words I need to use, let us know in the YouTube chat of the video and we will get to them, pan the camera over and get a little bit of spotlight, tell you how they're running, what they're doing. As John Hinchcliffe is in the 9th position right now, up one spot from where he started in the number 8 machine with that Looney Tunes backed car. As Ogle is getting challenged for the lead now. MacArthur right on the back bumper. As we're going to jump on the gyro cam of Courtney Nelson just behind these two. I do love the old gyro cam, as you can see there. It's really showing you just how brutal the banking is in turns 1 and 2. And turn 3 and 4. He's closed the gap a whole lot to the guys in front as Ogle looks like he's actually dragging the wall on the high side. They're going to be battling it out too wide right now. Just ahead, Dwayne MacArthur, Tom Ogle. As MacArthur dives it in deep, takes that spot away. So we are looking at around about a 75 to 80 lap fuel window. I have seen some drivers stretch that margin even longer in races past. But we should be looking at a one-stop race regardless, depending, of course, on how tyre wear plays a factor. We have heard reports from a lot of these drivers beforehand, before the race got underway, that tyre wear is actually a huge issue in Darlington. Apparently the speeds that these guys are running and the G-forces, the stress that these tyres are under, it is not conducive, as well as the surface being quite a dated one, not conducive to keeping rubber on the tyres, laying a lot of rubber down. You can already see a dark patch starting to form in turns 1 and 2, 20 laps down already as we make our way through to 3 and 4. You can see that dark patch once again just starting to form just a little bit, roughly pretty much exactly where Tom Ogle is running just behind MacArthur. And you can see it seems to have gained him a little bit of time running in that rubber as it gets laid down there, because he is making moves and making waves as he starts to make his way right behind MacArthur now and gets about as close as you can get to the outside wall. As you see, the front of these cars do not have the grip that they want, and on the rear end of the corners on the outskirts, getting very, very loose. You see an example of that perfectly as MacArthur got a tiny bit sideways, and Ogle's going to challenge for the lead here at the OBRL Cup Series. Makes that move, almost makes it look easy. Definitely too wide, not the preferred situation in this event. Brent Chaussee letting us know that Chaussee is moving up. Good old Cameron in the 21st position, definitely moving up 3 spots so far. Excuse me, up 3 spots so far. Not sure what happened to my voice there. In the 13th machine, up 4 now as he just makes his way underneath Kermit Gentry Jr. And doing a great job so far in the Taco Bell machine. That's about as old a paint scheme as it looks. I'm not entirely sure where the throwback for that one is from, although I can say from my own experience it almost looks like almost a nod to Play School in a weird way. But either way, either how, I actually think it looks pretty good. Something about, I mean, I'm personally a very big history buff, so definitely liking seeing these throwback schemes, even if I'm not entirely familiar with where they come from or who they belong to. You can always tell whether they're a slightly older scheme or not, and it is fantastic to see the drivers embrace the weekend in the real world as well as in the racing world. So shout out to all the drivers on track at the moment for very much getting behind Throwback Weekend, as Shane Wiseman has very big company in the form of Brian Lindsay, Chris Bates, Brian Lynch, McRubbin, Worsdale. They're all so close together, but especially Brian Lindsay right on that back bumper of Pearson. We're going to go on the gearbox of Shane Wiseman, just so you can get an idea of how these cars are fanning out around the track to turn 1. You can just see the train of cars behind Wiseman in the 11th position now. 24 right up to the back bumper, going to attempt to make that move. 24 machine to the inside and does make that move. With a beautiful run, Brian Lindsay passing Shane Wiseman into turn 3. As Wiseman still struggling with a little bit of a loose rear on that machine, as he's dropped 6 places since the start of this one. But once again, tyre wear definitely has to be talked about, as you'll see some of these drivers, and we have to point the camera at Josh Robinson when we say this. Tyre attrition. We have not seen any driver know or figure that out more than Mr. Josh Robinson. He certainly has a way of knowing exactly how much power to put in that machine at any given part of the race. Currently sitting in the 6th position, up 2 spots from where he started after his qualifying was cut short. As it already looks like Jonathan Green has parked it for the day. I believe Jonathan Green is going to be our first car to take it behind the garage wall. Wayne Hufford a lap down after serving his green flag pass-through penalty, but he's still on track, as we have 30 cars on the lead lap for the moment, as Josh Robinson just then made his way past Michael Watts, who was going, I want to say he's just seeming to be a little bit more gentle than some of the other drivers around him at the moment, as Greg McDaniel is trying to make his way through as well. As there are pretty big gaps starting to form all throughout, even in this big pack a little bit further back. As we pan back to it, Clay Walker is the closest one to the car in front right now. 0.2, a little bit less than that. As we say that, McRubbin is under fire from Lynch himself, who we were just about to talk about in the battle with Clay Walker. These three drivers have not gotten away from each other since we panned the camera to them all those laps ago. Back on lap, I want to say around about 8. Currently sitting in lap 32. A fantastic job here at Throwback Weekend. Victor Lane coming in, letting us know exactly what we're thinking as well. Wayne Hufford, excuse me, was hoping for an early caution. Unfortunately, unable to get one so far. So he is going to be, but at the moment he's going to stay in the lucky dog position to get his lap back should a caution arise. So still certainly not out of the running just quite yet, as McRubbin and Bates just ahead. We're very close together for a minute there, as Clay Walker is rubbing that outside wall. Lee Warsdale makes that pass due to that fact. And Warsdale, if ever there was a Darlington stripe wanted by any of these cars, that number 2 is definitely going to be showing it as he pulls just in front of Garisco. And Wayne Hufford in the middle of those two with his lap down 75 machine. Jeremy Mayo also joining us in the spectator area. Great to see the regulars coming in and supporting us. Victor Lane, speaking of, unfortunate not to see you out on track. I'm sure you have some other stuff going on, but it is fantastic. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to tune in, regardless of whether you were able to be a part of this event or not, as we pan the camera to Lloyd Moore, because Michael Watts has decided he has saved enough tyre and he's moving his way up. As they're side by side, Lloyd Moore has a little bit more room there. Will he decide to give up that bottom place on track? Yes, he does, as Michael Watts makes his way through there. Greg McDaniel, seeing this unfold just in front of him, wants a piece of it, as Michael Watts got a little bit loose there coming out of turn 2. Thankfully was able to keep the car underneath him, as Greg McDaniel makes that move as well. So the Wonder White Bread Machine just struggling a little bit here as Lloyd Moore starts to fall back, probably using up a little bit too much tyre a little bit early on. As speaking of, a battle for the lead is brewing once again. Tom Ogle seems to have been content with running his race, doing his laps and being fairly comfortable, but now with lap traffic coming into the picture as well, just ahead of Dwayne MacArthur, Ogle sees this opportunity as one he can't afford to give away and is right on the back bumper now. As I said, Dwayne MacArthur on his 11 race win streak at Darlington. Will Ogle be the one to, I guess, I almost wanted to say like a David and Goliath reference, but I'm not sure that's really the case, as Ogle definitely having his fair share of wins here in this series, as well as being a very notable driver. Not quite that kind of battle, but I will say that it would be very impressive if Ogle is able to end that streak of MacArthur's. As lap traffic doing a great job so far of getting out of the way. See as they come up to the back bumper of Greg Hammond's machine. Being on the nose cam of Tom Ogle just for a minute here. You can see the line of cars that are a lap down right in front. Dwayne MacArthur is going to have to navigate through traffic, and that's going to make it very difficult. Ogle can choose to make some of these machines a pick if he so wishes to make a pass. That is going to really hold up MacArthur. On the other hand, he can also decide that he just wants to kind of let MacArthur make his way through traffic and just follow him through. As you can see, a little bit of hectic stuff happening just in front. You can see a lap down there goes, I believe, I'm so used to seeing that paint, and yet I forget it each time, as the 81 of Greg Hammond goes down. That was Dave Nestor in the 36, excuse me. Nestor, I will get used to your paint one of these days, man. As we continue to watch this epic battle unfold, Ogle, I think at the moment, is content with letting MacArthur make his way through traffic. And Ogle just following him through, as now Mark Fish jumps out of the way. And unfortunately, what this is really going to hurt is it's going to hurt Wayne Hufford, as he is not going to be in contention for being the lucky dog anymore, barring a huge incident that takes out a lot of the rear end of the field. Clay Walker down on pit lane has been there for quite a while now, so unfortunate to see from him as he is out of the race. He is done. Hufford still in the final place on track, sitting in 30th, but sticking with it, even though he is a lap down and poised to maybe be a second at some point soon, as Troy Baker now is right in front of MacArthur and Ogle. Will he let these leaders go or fight to stay on the lead lap? As MacArthur makes a dive to the inside, Ogle follows him through, and going up very high, trying to give as much room as possible, goes Baker, and going to lose the spot to Mark Fish in that move. So Mark Fish takes over the position. If a caution would arise, he will get his lap back for free, as Greg Hammond tries to fight desperately to Troy Baker. It looked like he threw the nose in there for a second there, and then decided to back out just briefly. Closest battle on track at the moment is Robert Crisco Garisco, following behind. Excuse me. Yeah, no, I'm right. Just behind him is Cameron Chaussee. Double checking my own, thinking I had a mistake, but I didn't. Victor Lane coming in, telling us he's got COVID. Definitely rest up, man. And hopefully we will see you back here next week. It's always a shame when we miss out on the pink and black machine of Victor Lane's motor out on the field. But definitely rest up. COVID hits everyone differently. Some people get hit worse than others. I do not wish that on you. Hopefully it hasn't hit you too hard. But if it has, take care of yourself, as the 89 machine has a little bit of a bobble. That was James Waldo almost losing it, able to check it up just in front of William Martin, as we pan to the camera back, because that was a heating up battle for the 22nd position. But Martin making mincemeat of it right now and working his way through the field, seeming to have pace right now on Gentry Jr. and Martinson just in front. See if he can convert that into positions gained, as they can probably see the leaders start to catch up behind them, and deciding that it was go time for William Martin to try and make his way around. And the camera just slightly more forward. Cameron Chaussee trying to make the move, or almost getting made the move on, I should say, by Brian Glass. But Brian not wanting to make anything crazy happen, is just in front of them. There's another battle going on with McRubman and Warsdell, as they exchange positions for the 15th spot, as Warsdell takes over that one. That has allowed Garisco to really catch up, close the gap fairly consistently, as Chaussee just behind. Look at the battle going on back here, as Martinson is trying to make moves. Waldo is caught back up. You can see Martinson just ahead, was riding the wall once again. He's done that before. That 90 machine, the 94 taps the wall just barely. Thankfully able to keep it together. Unbelievable car control from this field right now. We are 50 laps into this one. 50 out of 130, and I'm amazed we've stayed green this long with the amount of Darlington stripes that have been dished out so far tonight. Great job from every single driver as Martin continues to look for an opening, as well as Chris Gogarisco going to try and make try and lose a spot. Well, not try and lose a spot, but will lose a spot to Cameron Chaussee, who was making that position. So Chaussee, gotta remember it's Chaussee, spelt Chaussee to me. Cameron Chaussee up 7 positions as I try desperately in the booth to get everything dialed in proper, which I should definitely be doing at this point, so apologies for myself there, as Brian Glass also makes his way around Crisco for that 18th place position. Coming down pit road was Greg McDaniel. Just made his way into pit lane, as well as Daniel Edgren. Excuse me, as we take a little bit of a drink, try and fix our voice problems, as Martinson is still finding it very difficult away around this track. The Canadian trying very desperately to stick with it. One of the 4 Canadians on track at the moment. Shout out to Canada, making quite a strong appearance here tonight, with Wayne Huffer, Dustin Martinson, Lee Warsdale, and Dwayne MacArthur all making an appearance from the Great White North. As I just recently found out through the use of just searching up, really, because I was interested, Canada, one of the biggest nations for land size, like area, in the entire world. Apparently, I believe it's number 2 or 3. Obviously, Russia being number 1, because they're just gigantic. But Dwayne MacArthur still fending off Tom Ogle for the moment, as these two continue to make, I'd say mincemeat of the rest of the field, as they are a solid 3 seconds over Josh Robinson now, who, as we've been panning and looking over our shoulder at all the other battles going out on track, has made his way up into the 3rd position. And the camera, we're going to go back to the 15th spot battle, because Brian Glass, the Kodak machine, making his way around. See this from Brian Glass time and time again. He ends up further down the pack than he belongs, makes his way through. Has a small bobble, finds himself further back, makes his way through again. Definitely a roller coaster with Brian Glass on a lot of these tracks, some definitely better than others, as he finds himself sitting in the 15th spot right now. James Waldo making quick work here through the track around William Martin. Absolutely no patience shown by James Waldo right now, as he is gunning it to try and stay on the lead lap. As you can see, the leader's right behind, and it is go time if you want to stay on that lead lap. Still no one coming down pit road other than the past 4 or 5 machines we've seen, and all of them getting extensive repairs done to their machines. Greg McDaniel, with the least amount of repairs, still had about 25 seconds or so, but I believe showing out of this race right now, so he might be one and done. Still showing a pretty healthy field size at the moment so far, though. We did actually get a report just before that McDaniel did actually get involved in an accident, which is what brought him down to pit road. We'll get a quick look at that one. As we watch the number 1 machine there, viamoose.org, Camry. See what went on here. Looks like a little bit of a checkup just ahead on that outside lane. Oh, and just loses the rear end all on his lonesome. And tagging that inside wall fairly hefty. Managing to keep the car underneath him, though, not bringing out a caution. Very, very thankful for that. I'm sure he is, as we pan the camera back, because James Waldo desperately trying to stay on the lead lap. As Dwayne MacArthur reeling him in, and MacArthur is going to make that move as Waldo pulls down to the inside and lets the 83 machine by. Coming down pit road as well was John Hinchcliffe for a little bit there. Everyone is on road for the moment. McDaniel's still getting actually back out on track for the moment. Troy Baker and Clay Walker sitting in pits getting repairs done, but I'm not sure if they're deciding that enough is enough for the moment. A very challenging, probably I'd argue the most challenging track on the schedule, as Michael Watts is coming down pit road. Michael Watts will relinquish the 5th place position as he comes down pit road and gets ready for his stop. The first leader to do so. As splitting this one exactly in half. See the leader, Dwayne MacArthur, just making his way past to put Watts a lap down while he is sitting in the pit lane. And one thing to mention, you can just see how high the banking looks, as well as just how wide the track looks, as MacArthur decides to come down now. I believe Ogle wasn't going to, saw MacArthur dive down and thought, oh, I better stick with him. Not wanting to be too different, as Ogle closes right up. Closes that gap about as close as you could get from where he was. Hopefully not incurring any sort of speeding fine. Didn't look like it, as they are also joined by Courtney Nelson from the 4th place position and Lloyd Moore, as well as Shane Wiseman from the 7th place spot, as Dale Copeland and Josh Robinson stay out. Bruce Pearson, Ryan Lindsay coming down pit road as well. The pit cycle's definitely coming into play here right now. Lee Warsdale jumps up into the 4th positions. James Waldo jumping up into the 5th position. But Josh Robinson taking over the race lead in the 23 machine. We know he has pace on a long run. Knowing him, he will drive this one out until the car starts to absolutely sputter. But will that affect his drive towards the later part of this race? Will it be too little, as his tyres will be fresher, but he's got a lot of ground to cover up with that big 3-second gap to the leaders that was formed before they came down pit road. But for the moment, Josh Robinson continuing to click off laps. 3 cars on the lead lap. That would be Robinson, Bates, and Warsdale. As Robinson comes down, but absolutely loses it. Unbelievable almost save as he tags that inside wall. I was about to say that was an unbelievable save from Josh Robinson, but that is definitely going to hurt the front left of his machine. And we have heard before, once you get some damage on these cars, they don't drive like they used to, especially here at Darlington, where aero is actually much more important than you would expect it to be. And Josh Robinson may have just thrown away his chance in a top spot with that small incident there. That is definitely going to be a big talking point as Chris Bates takes over the lead and going to stay out on track for a further amount of time. That 81 machine wants to lead a lap here tonight and making his way in right now. Certainly a difficult pit road as wide as it looks, as I was trying to allude to earlier. Not an easy one to come through. You can see everyone deciding to come down pit road, including Warsdale and Bates just now, as well as Waldo. They're deciding to come in before turn 3 as Dwayne MacArthur takes over the race lead back once again. The point has to be said. What will happen if we have a late race caution? Will the tyres be affected to the point where that is the payoff point? Or because it is so hard to pass here at Darlington, will that be the key factor? Track position. It'll be very interesting to see how that one ends up working out. Jeremy Mayo said this a little while ago, but I'd like to allude to it just briefly when I was talking about the Canadian drivers, just a little bit about Canada. They gave us Hockey and Poutine, but they also gave us Justin Bieber, which almost makes up for it. I will say, hockey is good. Hockey is awesome. My grandfather played hockey. It's pretty cool. I will say I've never had poutine. Don't have an opinion on it, so I can't really say, because we don't really have it in this country, but I can say that I will never forget them for making Justin Bieber exist. But it's almost cancelled out, I will say, because they also gave us Ryan Reynolds. And Ryan Reynolds is like the best. So, yeah, Daniel Hill saying he can't believe Josh lost it, and I agree with him. A very, very consistent driver, very uncharacteristic of him, as he was probably trying to make up a little bit more time, but unfortunately losing it in that spin. Sitting in the 3rd position though, so it didn't seem like it affected him all that much. Decided to not take the optional repairs that were given to him. Obviously his crew chief deciding it was not worth that tiny amount of damage sustained. And it does look like his car, you can see there a little bit of damage, but not a whole lot. So it shouldn't affect him too badly as he continues to make his way around the track. But yeah, losing an extra 3 seconds to the lead is definitely not something he wanted to see happen. And we'll see just how much of that he can make back up. There's a little bit battle further back there. I saw just for a brief moment Rick Rubin is looking to be side by side with the 8 machine of Hinchcliffe, but Hinchcliffe is a lap ahead. So we're at that point, especially passing these green flag pit stops. We are at that point in the race. People start to have a little bit of issues with lap traffic. As you can see, 3 wide for just a brief moment. And I think that threw off Hinchcliffe's ability to try and make that pass for the 4th position on Michael Watts just in front. I think he just got a little bit psyched out by that car underneath, as well as right in front there. A little bit of a battle going on. I believe that is Cameron Chaussee. Or Chaussee. Gotta get myself, I'm almost yelling at myself at this point for continuing to absolutely butcher that name, as Robert Gurisco falls back in line after relinquishing that spot. Hinchcliffe now has to deal with being behind lap traffic, and we'll see if Michael Watts can get away using that to his advantage. We have a very close battle heating up at the front as I pan back to it. Dwayne MacArthur and Tom Ogle very close together once again. Lap 78 out of 130 as we wind the clock down ever so slightly. It has to be said, and I didn't say it earlier, but it has to be said. I'm sure I'm not the only one when I say this out loud. I am missing our friend and colleague that was joining us up here in the booth for the past few races, Eric Essery. I know he is driver by nature. However, it was an absolute blast to have him in the booth with me, and hopefully maybe joining us in the future as well. Unfortunately, a little bit busy to join us here tonight, but I will continue to be here, rain or shine, every single week, as long as these drivers are happy to have me, of course. And I very much enjoy it, the OBR Cup Series. Speaking of, if anyone is new and interested watching at home, we currently have 17 viewers, so thank you very much for tuning in. But if you're interested in joining a Next Gen Cup Series League, look no further, the Old Bastards Racing League. The only requirement is that you are above the age of 35 when you join these drivers, but definitely get involved as they have massive field sizes and racing all throughout the track, week in and week out. So definitely a shout out to the series itself, as Dwayne MacArthur and Ogle continuing to have this pretty tight battle up in the front. These two non-relenting of one another. We see this week in and week out. These two almost in a class of their own. Some of the bigger name drivers we see there as well, also up through the field. However, not having the pace that we've seen in the past. Darlington definitely one of the trickier tracks on the schedule, and it is really showing its ugly head as Ogle and MacArthur continue to make their way around fairly consistently. We pan the camera back to the 20th place as William Martin is right on the back bumper of Mark Schrader. Schrader there in the 12 machine. Under fire from Martin. What we've seen in the past, Martin is absolutely, seems to be one of those drivers here tonight at Darlington, is on an absolute mission to get more positions every single lap, and is not taking any prisoners as he makes his way around into turn 3 and coming out of 4. Like lap traffic may also play a role in that one. As I say lap traffic, that is not lap traffic at all. That's Dustin Martinson in the 18th position. Whoa, as these two get very, very close together. William Martin just barely avoiding contact with the left rear quarter panel of Mark Schrader's number 12 throwback scheme. And that was very, very close. The UPS machine almost being turned into mincemeat and getting sent to the inside wall. That was a very narrow avoidance. Jeffrey Sargent joining us as well, letting us know, really informing us that Josh Robinson is making up time already, and you are absolutely correct, as he has made up a full 2 seconds at this point on the lead too. See that Schrader let Martin by as, well, didn't fought Martin for it, but letting that driver by. Not sure who that was. Just behind Martin there. In the Chick-fil-A backed car. Speaking of, we do not have a Chick-fil-A in this country. Very sad. I've heard only good things about Chick-fil-A. Trying to find out exactly who that is. As I believe that's actually... Would that be Dale Copeland? It is Dale Copeland. Whoa, and just in front, never mind, as all sorts of issues. Unbelievable action, and we stay green. That is incredible. As I must say, the timing software did not show what just happened there. As there, the report has just been shown, Dustin Martinson. What happened there? We're about to find out. That is Mark Fish. That is the wrong driver entirely. There we go. Back this one up quick as we can, not to miss too much action. Playing in real speed, so you can see just behind Martinson was William Martin, but not getting involved at all, just losing the rear end. As well as Martinson just behind, mind you. Well, Martinson losing the rear end and Martin just behind, also losing the rear end. One managed to catch it and one did not. Definitely going to keep an eye on Joshua Robinson. It looks like the gap has kind of maintained to a bit of a standstill at the moment, as Robinson currently, I believe, working his way through traffic. Certainly hindering his progress as we wind down the clock with 40 laps to go. Martinson on an absolute mission right now. And the camera out just a little bit, give you an idea of where the leaders are in relation to Josh Robinson. We're following Robinson right now. Let's see if we can get a better camera. Maybe we might employ the blimp. So the blimp's a pretty good job. Let's see if we can have a look real quick. Alright, not quite the camera we were looking for. That was almost a perfect camera. Just for a minute there, you can see Dwayne MacArthur was just taking turn one. And there's a perfect cut. Look at that. Doing my job a little bit better for just a brief moment, as Dwayne MacArthur and Ogle just a little bit less than a full straightaway ahead of Joshua Robinson. For a little bit of reference, Robinson still in the midst of trying to pass a few lap cars, as these two have free track ahead of him just for a little bit. So definitely working out in their favour for the moment, as Mark Fish is a little ways down the road. These two definitely hashing it out though as they continue. I don't think there's been a single point in this race so far where the two of them have been separated by more than 0.3 of a second. And that is the kind of racing that we expect. Dustin Martinson saying he just got loose and he had to take a tow. Jeremy Mayo with Rip Viking. Dustin Martinson joining us in the spectator area while he awaits his machine to get out there. Hopefully you can join back out on track. But done for the night. It actually looks like for the amount of time that you've been on pit road, you probably have packed it in. So Dustin Martinson, unfortunately, having an end there to his race, as well as James Waldo coming in, and he's been in pit lane for almost 2 minutes now. So I believe he's also given it in. So we're showing around about 20, I want to say 25 cars on track right now. Make that 26 as Brian McRubbin is still making laps, even though he is quite a few down to the drivers just in front of him. But a fantastic job from all these drivers to stick with it, regardless of how their race is going so far. We've stayed green the entirety of this race at this point. The question has to be in the back of everyone's mind, including my own. Will we see a caution as both drivers in the lead? Both of them having a small bit of issue as both of them rubbing the wall. MacArthur and then Ogle following along suit, with Ogle having a little bit of a bobble coming off of the wall. So almost finding himself with a little bit of a spin, managed to let off the gas and keep it underneath him. But that was very, very hairy for a little second there. Ogle is going to try and catch that rear bumper once again. That's gotten a little bit further away from him, belonging to Dwayne MacArthur, and Ogle sending it into the corner a lot quicker than MacArthur. We'll see in terms of drive off. It doesn't look like there's much between them. So Ogle may very well have a little bit more pace in that machine at the moment than Dwayne MacArthur right up front. MacArthur playing very, very nicely with that wall up there. He's going to have to. He continues to get that close. You can hear the shift. So Ogle actually shifting from 4th to 5th gears here at Darlington. We were warned that that is a potential to see that. As staying in 4th on the entrance to 1 and 2. Out of turn 2, we'll see if he shifts again. As you can see, the high banking of 25 degrees. Yeah, deciding not to, as he's probably listening to me in the booth, so he's deciding not to play ball. But bouncing off that rev limiter. Oh, just in front of him, you could see there was a car going all sorts. Mark Fish having an issue. Unbelievable save from Mark Fish, making sure not to cause a caution, but his left front is not turning, and he's missed pit entry. Oh, that was pit exit, excuse me. So not as big a deal, still maintaining quite a bit of pace. Incredibly, even while that front wheel refuses to turn. So unbelievable scenes from Mark Fish. Back that one up as quick as we can. See what just happened with Fish here. Coming out of turn 4, just bang. There's no other description for that, as losing the rear end. That has definitely cost him, as he has come down pit road to hopefully get a little bit of repair work done on that machine and get it back out and race ready. As MacArthur and Ogle continue to have this fight. Other close battles out on track. Kermit Gentry Jr. side by side with Greg Hammond on the inside. Hammond gets a little bit of a touch to Kermit Gentry, as Gentry also touches that outside wall. And Hammond is still very, very loose. That means Gentry is going to have the run. But not enough of one to make a pass back. So Hammond up 4 spots in the 18th position. It should be said our biggest mover of the race is at a current tie between Briscoe Garisco in the 16th position and William Martin just behind in the 17th position, as McRubbin makes his way by with Martin having a little bit of a bobble. 25 laps to go in this one. We are winding down the laps, as it looks like Brian Lindsay is having all sorts of company from Bruce Pearson just behind, with Chris Bates as well trying to get his nose in the mix there. Oh, Jeremy Mayo, I'm so upset that I didn't think of that before you did, but I'm definitely going to shout out you for that one. Mark Fishtailed is the joke that Jeremy Mayo gave us, which is absolutely fantastic, and I wish I would have thought of that. And the sad part is now if I do actually think about it in races coming up soon, or next races coming up in the future, I'm gonna have to give credit to Jeremy Mayo every single time. Oh well. As this three-car battle has sorted itself out a little bit. We saw a little bit of a puff of smoke. And who is that on the inside? Josh Robinson coming down pit road once again. Was that him that just tagged the wall? From the third place position, what has happened to Joshua Robinson? I have to queue this one up as I know it's quick. I know it's a bit quick for me to do this, but I have to do this. As yes, no. Yes, yes, no, yes. Unfortunately, Josh Robinson, way too loose. All the way through the corner, you could see it, tried to collect it. Looking fairly solid, but not quite. And unfortunately, turning straight in. So the Kimball Cup Series most winningest driver finds himself down in pit lane. And working on that machine. Giving up the third place position. The battle for attrition, we've said it so many times. Dustin Martinson telling us that he is parking it. Getting told that turn 4 is very, very dicey right now. We've definitely seen a lot of issues with some of these cars right now. And MacArthur and Ogle are deciding through it all to have this battle once again as Ogle looks to the inside just for the briefest of moments. Going to see how this one plays out. As Ogle looks to the inside, just a little bit of a peek, just, hey Dwayne, remember me, I'm still here. As Ogle goes for a peek down the inside, not able to do it. As it looked like he may have actually touched the wall, just the barest of margins just at the end there. These drivers definitely having a fight. As Ogle tries to end MacArthur's winning streak. And I can't help but realize that I have failed to mention so far that our previous race winner, Mr. Eddie Jones, unfortunately not able to make it out here tonight, as we've got some more smoke on track just ahead of the leaders. Brian Lindsay showing us another crash. What has happened to Brian Lindsay? Looks like he's already... Oh no! Whoa, as he is coming back up on the racetrack. How was that not a caution? That was so close to being back in the racing line. Let's see if there was anything happened, if anything happened before that. Oh yes, and another one just before that issue. Coming out of turn 4 just behind Brian Glass and in front of Pearson, and it's just very, very loose. Tagging that outside wall, very quick reactions from a lot of these drivers to avoid that. And then just losing it again once trying to make the transition from the banking to the apron. Making it a little bit too early. And the car not liking it one bit and spinning again. Thankfully locking up the brakes, making sure not to come back onto the racing surface. Even though he got very, very close indeed. As Ogle continues to show the nose to Dwayne MacArthur. Now alongside, we could have the battle for the lead right now for the win of this race. As Ogle chucks it in the inside, MacArthur not letting him have it though, sticking to his guns on the high side and is going to stay with it. Ogle going to have to be a bit more aggressive if he wants to take that spot away. Mayo coming out saying, where were the yellows and how were they not won? I exactly agree with that statement to its fullest. 4 issues in 20 laps. We are seeing the attrition aspect definitely coming to its own here, as well as the tire wear being a huge factor. I know we talk about it a lot. We've tried to avoid talking about it too much this race so far, but it is playing a big role in the amount of spins we've seen here tonight. 13 laps to go, coming to the last 12, and Ogle has dropped the pace massively. Ogle is off the pace. What does this mean for MacArthur? Will he continue to make his charge? Or would it be wiser to maybe save a little bit of tyre now that he has that gap, but then allow Ogle to catch up? I just don't know which would be the preferred way to do it, but MacArthur seems content with the pace that he's running right now. As these drivers continue to click off laps fairly consistently in the 30 and 3/4 second mark per lap. We wind down with 11 laps to go. Handing the camera back to Lee Warsdell on the rear bumper of Brian Lynch for the 12th place position, actually for the 11th place position. I believe the 99 machine, correct me if I'm wrong, paying tribute to Jeff Burton with that paint scheme there. Just realized I haven't run through the field, so let's do ones I have a list of, and hopefully it is a correct list at that. I'm showing, well, pretty much everyone has a paint scheme, that is for sure. I'm showing Mark Schrader's number 12 machine. I believe that is a paint similar to Dale Jarrett, excuse me. A tribute to him in the UPS paint. Right ahead of the leader as well, mind you. Ahead of Dwayne MacArthur there. The next in our small list that we made is the number 19 machine. Dustin Martinson obviously is out. And he can correct us if we're wrong. We had that as a Rusty Wallace Miller Lite throwback. Got the number 9 of Brian Lynch himself, as I said, a Cale Yarbrough Hardy's scheme from the 80s. Number 18 machine as well. Got, and I believe he is also out. That is Troy Baker. We're showing similar to an old Dale Jr. paint with Budweiser as the sponsor. As should have done this a lot earlier in the race. Number 18, similar to Dale Jr. I just realized I read that already. Number 24 is paying tribute to Jeff Gordon in that Exalta machine. One of Jeff Gordon's many paints. He is also out of the race, Brian Lindsay that is. Let's see if we can get another one on track that's actually out there that I have on this list here. Courtney Nelson in the 30 machine, paying tribute to Kevin Harvick's Good Wrench paint scheme. Number 84 machine of Michael Watts paying tribute to Terry Labonte is what we have written here. 87 machine of Brian Glass has been tributing and continues to tribute every single week to Ernie Irvin is what we have written here in this machine. I personally am not familiar with Ernie Irvin, although I have heard some of these names before. Ronnie Allison being represented is what we're being told by the 88 machine of Greg Hammond. It's that paint scheme. 98 of Derek Cope. We have, well, the 98, sorry, representing Derek Cope. I believe they are out of the race as well. That's Jonathan Green. Not sure if his car is still there. No, unfortunately not. So I don't think we actually got a shot of that during the race, unfortunately. And we've got a singular wireless scheme on the 81 machine of Chris Bates, which I believe is tribute to Robbie. Sorry, I believe it's tributing the singular wireless machine of Robbie Gordon. Dustin Martinson saying that Ernie Irvin is a fantastically tragic story, and I'm definitely going to look up that one because I'm interested, and as sad as it may be, I feel like I wouldn't be doing due justice or due diligence in my job if I didn't at least go back and had a look at what these drivers are paying tribute to. I may know some names, but I do not know others. So Ogle is in the old Pepsi Challenger throwback. There we go. Lynch in the Kale Yarborough. Yeah, I've got that one. So Ogle sitting in the second position. And Hammond, I also said that with Donnie Allison. So, yes, we definitely have gone through the list of only, I would say, less than half of the drivers who are actually bringing out here a throwback scheme tonight's race. So that is entirely my bad, and I should have done a little bit more due diligence on that one. I can only apologize as much as physically possible, but we are on our final lap as Dwayne MacArthur continues to be out front leading this thing. Ogle is trying desperately, but he does not have the drive. The car underneath him is not suiting him the way he likes, and MacArthur is going to continue his winning ways here at Darlington as he makes his way around the final corner, right through the checkered flag. Green all the way. Dwayne MacArthur, take a bow, my friend. You have made it to the top spot. Dwayne MacArthur, Tom Ogle, first and second with Michael Watts. Just then crossing the line, bringing it home in the third place position. So Michael Watts definitely not slouching around at all. He also had a fantastic drive. So fantastic is definitely the word of the night, as these drivers, there were a lot of problems throughout the grid, but I can tell you that these drivers, they were absolutely ripping it around, doing a fantastic job of that as well. There we go, that's what we were for. We bring up the results for you. There we go, running the results the wrong direction as we get things sorted out right at the end of the broadcast in the booth. What a little bit of information for you. So Dwayne MacArthur, as I said, bringing it home with the win. Ogle and Watts as well, as we missed a little bit of the burnout there from MacArthur. Also my bad, as we had a little bit of an issue just at the end there in the booth, but definitely doing a very nice burnout on the front stretch. I, for one, cannot do that. I don't know how drivers do that. So that may be a question for me to ask MacArthur, actually. Now think about it, coming to the end of this one. So we're going to get ready for interviews, but while we wait just a little bit, we'll have a quick break, have some water, and you can have a look at where your favorite driver, who you're cheering on, may have ended up. And a great race, it must be said, from all of these drivers coming out here tonight. Yeah, we will see shortly as we get these drivers ready to talk to us up here in the booth. Righty, so just waiting on our final driver to make his way through. He's just done so. Michael Watts coming in, bringing it home in third. We'll bring him up into the booth. Mike Watts, congratulations. How are you feeling?
Oh, pretty good. Surprised, really. Wasn't really expecting a good result like this. I guess Josh Robinson had some issues, and I was able to capitalize on that. So, yeah, all in all, a pretty good day, I suppose.
Well, I tell you, it has to be said, unfortunate for Josh Robinson, a couple of times had a small meeting with the wall, shall we say. But Mike, I want to talk. Go by Mike, is that okay? I know I've talked to you before, but
Yep, that's good.
all right. Well, Mike Michael, same diff. How, I mean, I asked how you feeling. Obviously, you already said that. But I do want to say, this drive from you seemed to be very consistent. You seem very calm, relaxed. I didn't see the back end step out, I don't think once. Um, was it actually calm and relaxed in the cockpit or not quite so much?
Not quite. Yeah, I got loose a lot. You really have to drive the car off the corner here, off the right rear, and you just have to really ease back onto the throttle on corner exit. The transition of the track really wants to just rotate the car. So it's really just about getting the car set, and once it's loaded, you're pretty much kind of stuck on that line, and then you just have to watch your exit and manage your throttle, and then you got to manage your tires because if you go too fast, you'll burn them up too quick, and then you'll be all over the place. But yeah, I popped the wall a couple times. Got the Darlington stripe and the battle scars to show for it. But I mean, it was a good race. But yeah, the car was just so loose. There, it was. Uh, my hands were pretty much like death grip on the wheel.
Well, I mean, it has to be said, Darlington definitely taking no prisoners. I don't think there were many drivers who walked away without a Darlington stripe. I think Dwayne MacArthur might actually be one that I think he may have tagged the wall just a tad. But anyway, anyhow, I will say that's been a fantastic run from you. And watching you work your way through the field, I know you've already been one of the better drivers on track, but it still seems like week in, week out, you're getting faster. Is it just, are you practicing a lot or just, I don't know, mentally preparing? You have any kind of ritual you do before any race?
Not really. Just kind of getting into the season, I guess. I've missed last week and Talladega. I was at Talladega, so watching the NASCAR race there. And last week I was flying to California, so um, I was fortunate enough to get back into the cockpit today and race and let those Dwayne and Tom shine because those guys are just really good, and they get out there and just uh, really look good. And Josh, I mean, I was pretty much reserved to finish behind him as well. But yeah, hey, that's how you learn is racing better guys than you, right?
Oh, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, I tell you, Mike, hopefully, I mean, real racing, watching that go around, that probably helps a little bit as well, I imagine.
Oh yeah, well I've been watching NASCAR since 1989, so I haven't really missed too many races other than when I was deployed in the military, and uh, I recorded all the races when I was in basic training. So yeah, I mean I've seen as about as many as you possibly can.
All right. Well, I know we don't do it in this country, but I know in America, big things. So I guess I've got to say thank you for your service. And I don't know, maybe I didn't have to say that, but I feel like I hear a lot of people say it. So either way, even if I didn't say thank you for your service, I'm sure you know that I myself and all the spectators watching still very much appreciate what you've done for not only America but also for this league. Just running around, rolling around. I know it's not quite the same, but just being out here. So before I let you go, any shout outs, friends, family, sponsors you'd like to shout out here tonight before I let you go?
Yeah, I want to thank Lowe's and Advanced Auto. You got to give a professional consideration for them, and my family and my wife for letting me get on here and race with these guys, and put on a good show for you guys. But yeah, we appreciate everything, and I appreciate everything that everybody else has done, so we can do this, every Sunday. So it's really nice to get out here and race with these guys, and I enjoy being able to finish on the podium.
All right, sounds good, Mike. Well, we will talk to you later, and shout out as well, I guess, to paint scheme. Just quickly, who you representing on your paint scheme? You want to talk a little bit about that if you've got a tiny bit more time?
Oh yeah, sure. That was 1995 Terry Labonte. He ran the Kellogg's car, so I wanted to kind of throw a tribute to him. In the past, I've kind of run some old Lowe's schemes, so this one was a little bit of a change up, and I really like the paint job on his car, and wanted to show some admiration.
All right, sounds good. Definitely what we want to hear up here in the booth. So, Mike, thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you, I'm sure, in the near future.
Yes, hopefully there'll be some more podiums in the future. Thank you.
All right, that was Mike Watts. I know a little bit longer of an interview there, but someone I very much enjoy talking to. Now, next up in the booth, someone we definitely know can talk forever, Tom Ogle, bringing it up here in the second position. What are your thoughts on that race?
It was finishing second to Dwayne is pretty good here. He's really good here. I'm not usually that good here, and I burn up my tires. So I mean, a second place to Dwayne because he wins about every race we run at Darlington. A second place to Dwayne here is like a win for me. I mean,
Well,
it would have been nice to beat him. I had a run on him the one time, and I wasn't sure if he was going to lift, and I didn't really want to wreck us both.
talk to me through that actually, because I did want to talk about that. You had a few moments where it looked like you were going to make that move, and then Dwayne was pretty much going to test your, I guess, test your metal and see if you were happy to go too wide through, especially turn one. And
Right. You just can't go too wide through here uh, and make it without touching and wrecking. So I was going to have to make the pass off of four and clear him, but I had kind of kept the bottom lane in my back pocket because it had pretty good grip early in the race down there. So I was going to pop out and get him there, but then I just lost rear grip. We kind of had to pick up the pace too because Josh was running us down till he had his accident.
yeah, I imagine the team radio was was awash with a
Yes.
little bit of words exchanged. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, he got loose getting into the pits too and had wrecked. And I was like, if I'd known you were going to wreck getting into the pits, I would have done the overcut on tires too. But I was fighting him and trying to stay with Dwayne also. So I pitted there because I kind of ran into lap traffic. So I just pitted with Dwayne. I should have went 3 or 4 laps more, but hindsight being 2020 now, I thought honestly, I should have bailed it off in there that one time. If I'd have known that was my only shot at him, I would have probably driven a little harder in there and just taken the contact and hope for the best.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, it is what it is. You got a second place. Definitely nothing to
Yep.
sneeze at, as you said, because Dwayne definitely seemed like the car to beat. You didn't let him out of your sights for very long, though, I must admit.
No,
I think the
no,
biggest
I
gap
tried
that
to
opened
stay.
between you guys was about 4/10 of a second, so that's
Yeah.
not much.
You know, the weird thing is with the car is if I was out front and he was behind me, my car was really loose and I was burning my back tires. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to follow him till there's 20 to go and make him burn up his back tires because my car was way better behind him because it tightened that up. So I could get off the corner way easier. So early in the race, when I passed him, when we were swapping the lead, when I passed him, I'm like, oh, I'm way better than him right now. I'm going to drive away. But then I got in front of him and he got on my bumper and loosened me up. So we couldn't really, neither of us could drive away from the other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. As you know, that tends to happen sometimes, and that produces fantastic racing, regardless. Regardless of who it is in the car. So, definitely good. But hey, Tom, I'm gonna have to let you go because I know we could
Yes,
definitely talk for ages.
yes,
But
definitely.
yeah, who would you
I'm
like
a
to
fellow
shout out?
Aussie, so I'm a fellow Aussie. My grandmother was from Brisbane, so
Oh, nice. Well,
uh,
that's a bit up north from
but
me, but yeah.
yes, but just my teammates all helped me out. Josh really helped me out, talking me down, keeping the tires on. Uh, John Hinchcliffe, it was nice having him back because when you've got four guys in there, you can kind of talk about what's going on around the track and where other guys are running and everything. And Brian Lynch was in there also with us this time, so we had a pretty good crew tonight. But I want to thank all them. Thank you for doing a great job broadcasting, and Dwayne for running me clean. And I should have sent it on him. I just should have sent it. I had the chance and I didn't.
Ah,
So
well,
thanks for having me up here.
that's you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, Ogle.
Yep, exactly. You are 100% correct.
All right. Well,
Thanks.
we
Thanks,
will let
Gareth.
you go. So have a great night and go out and
You
celebrate.
too. Yeah. All right.
All right, that was Tom Ogle bringing it home in second. Up next, the man of the hour, Dwayne MacArthur, once again bringing it home in the top spot. Man, it must feel almost like second nature to you at this track.
I love this track. This is my favorite track by far. This is so much fun here. It is a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
Well, I tell you what, speaking of a lot of work, we were told, well, you told us really, of your winning ways here at this track. Did it scare you at all seeing that Ogle was right around you the entirety of this race?
Well, I mean, there's 30 guys in this field that can win this race any given night, and Ogle definitely never really let me settle in and kind of get a rhythm or get comfortable or think about my tires. And he forced the issue the whole race. Put me. It was exhausting. We probably ran a little too hard after the pit stops, but yeah, Ogle filling up my mirror all night definitely changed things.
Yeah, well, I tell you, you must have felt a lot of pressure. We were feeling the intensity up here in the booth, and then he tried to make a move, and we were definitely holding our breath, seeing what was going to happen. But you stuck to your guns, and it seemed like he didn't want to get involved in anything too chaotic at the end there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the entire race, in the first stint, we went back and forth a few times. We weren't, ready to duke it out, and got one of us would get a run, and the other would let the other one by. And then in the second half, it kind of just felt like we both wanted to lead. I know he wanted to hang out a little bit because it was the car was a little more stable following. But then every single corner entry had to watch the mirror, see if he was making a move. If he did, run harder. If not, save some stuff. It kind of feels like we just did about 650 laps. I'm wore out from Mr. Ogle.
Yeah, well, I actually forgot to ask Ogle just quickly, so I'll ask you as well, because I did end up finding out that Ogle's is a throwback paint scheme to an old Pepsi livery, but I haven't seen anyone who seems to know what your throwback is. So enlighten us if you can, if that is indeed a throwback, which I assume it is.
Yeah, this is a throwback paint. Not throwback to real life NASCAR. This is an OBRL throwback. So this is a Steve Thompson paint scheme. Steve Thompson, who was the owner of this league for a long, long time, kept this league running for a very long time, and won a lot of races in this league. This paint scheme terrorized the league for about a decade. So I was kind of hoping that if I brought out this paint, I could get in Ogle's head a little bit and maybe Josh's head and put the fear in them. I know in real life NASCAR, the black number 3 is the intimidator, but this Ride TV 67, it used to be, was certainly the most intimidating paint on the track for a long time. So, and without Steve, we probably wouldn't have the OBRL today. So I just thought it was fitting to give it one last ride here today. Glad I put it in victory lane.
Yeah, it sounds like it worked out pretty well. I mean, in that basically in that sort of sort of dialogue there you were talking about. Um, you're talking about maybe scaring some of the other drivers. Did you find that, because from what I saw, did you find that drivers, when they were a lap down, they gave you more leeway than you were expecting? Because I didn't see you get held up too much by traffic here.
It was decent. There wasn't a lot of time lost in traffic. There was a couple of guys fighting to kind of stay on the lead lap, but nothing too egregious. One or two guys kind of grabbed the wall in three when we were coming by. I think Ogo and I were just chatting there in the green room, and I think we netted out kind of even between him and I. Like it didn't really impact me or him more. Um, Felt like it was a reasonable amount of room, and quite a few guys pulled right over, and so I don't think it was an issue. It's always, being around other cars, lap cars or not, even racing for position, exiting turn two, stuff like that. You're always on edge or in the middle of one and two. So anytime you're around any car, you definitely get up on the wheel and you're paying attention.
Absolutely, and definitely no room or time to really chill out here at Darlington. But before I let you go, Dwayne, final shout outs of the night. Let us know who's cheering you on or who you'd like to thank. And yeah, before we let you go here and get ready to go to, where are we going next week? North Wilkesboro.
Yeah. I think it goes without saying, just a big shout out to Mama. Happy Mother's Day to my mom and to all the mothers out there. Not a single one of us on this planet would be here if it wasn't for our mothers. So, uh, and then I want to say thanks to our sponsors, Kimball, Aologs, Butt Kicker, Sim Racer Hub, Victory Lane Sports, of course, Team Goon Squad, putting on the show, all the lovely admins that help run this place and keep it running. And then, I mean, these bastards, look at this, 30 cars at Darlington, and we bring it home green. Couldn't ask for a better group of guys. They're all a little too damn fast. It'd be nice to have an easy race someday, maybe, but it's a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody, and thanks for you putting on a good show. And shout out to Mr. Steve Thompson for letting me use his paint, even though I didn't ask. But I hope you enjoyed it.
Well, I'm sure I'd be happy that you brought it to Victory Lane regardless.
Oh, absolutely. And I will say, I'm pretty sure when Tom made that last move in turn one, I think the paint scared him off and he lifted. So I'm pretty certain mission accomplished.
All right, sounds good, Dwayne. We'll see if we can talk to you up here next week. Have a good rest of your week, and we will talk to you later.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks a lot.
All right, that was Dwayne MacArthur bringing it home with the 83 machine in the top spot. Once again, we'd like to thank everyone for coming out here tonight and tuning in, supporting the league, potentially the broadcaster, as well as all the drivers out on track. So as we look at Dwayne MacArthur doing a few little burnouts out as he has his fun, or the replay of him having his fun, as we sign off here tonight, we again thank everyone for coming. Have a very happy Mother's Day, and we will see you next week. Have a great time. Same, same place. We will be here. I will be here. Don't miss anything. See you all next week. Take care.